Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastics.com NBA Strategy Show. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. I will spare the pleasantries today. I'll keep things short on my end.
I don't believe
because we got 13 games. Yeah, brevity is the key today. 13 games on today's slate. Woo! And fortunately, only 2 games yesterday. So, you got Boston on the second of a back-to-back. You got Denver. I guess the assumption is Jokic plays and Murray doesn't, but Portland being another one, like 7-man rotation last game, and now even more guys are expected to be out. So should be fun, Adam. You ready to get into this?
Yeah. I just want to call right now that it's going to be like 20 minutes into the show, and you're going to be like, we're doing a great job getting through this slate, blah, blah, blah. Here's a story about something completely unrelated to basketball.
That'll be the deeper dive today. Don't you worry. I'll save it for you. How you feeling?
Good.
Yeah.
Baseball. I'm in a good mood, man. Baseball season's back. Still didn't make any money, but it was enjoyable.
But you got to watch baseball.
Yeah, got to watch baseball.
Oh,
I was happy with my exposures. It just didn't go my way. Probably mostly in a good mood just because I ended up not playing last night's NBA slate. So that does it.
Yeah, man. First of all, the Phillies, what a joke that was. But I hammered Jamal Murray over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists after I saw that Jokic wasn't at warmups because a couple books just didn't pull it. And it opens back up at 37.5. And of course, that team, that's just been my week, getting phenomenal closing line value betting, and then they're just terrible.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? Keep doing it, I guess. But hey, happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. All that good stuff helps us. Goes a long way here. Let's just get this up over 100 likes out of the gate. If you're listening in podcast form, we see you out there. We appreciate you. Leave a rating, review, subscribe to the pod, all that good stuff. All right. Like I said, I'll spare the pleasantries. But as always, nice to see all our regulars in chat. We got 13 games, man. I don't think, obviously, a lot of these we're not going to spend a ton of time on. There's going to be some where we just go, okay, yeah, this is like, we got 13 games. We don't need to dive into this, but let's do what we can. And we'll kick this one off with the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers. Gary Trent Jr., Will Barton, questionable. Trent's missed a handful of games at this point. Just looking at this one today, not a particularly high total. It's sitting at 224.5. You've got the Toronto Raptors as 6-point dogs on the road. We'll start it off with them. Just assume that, nothing changes because otherwise we're in bad shape. But is there anybody that pops off the board really from either side of this game right now, given how many games we have?
Not really. I mean, assuming that these teams are relatively healthy. My boom bustle didn't swear right, but the pricing here just is pretty much where it should be. Van Vliet, Siakam, Pirtle, Barnes, all look fine, but nothing jumps off on a 13-game slate where you're expecting it to be, huge priorities. I think the same probably goes for the Philly side. Like Embiid at 11-1 obviously looks very good, but still 13-game slate. Harden is fine if you get there, and I don't see anything else.
Yeah, pulling up looking at ownership right now. I did go to the boom bust tool because we didn't have the ownership tool updated. But Philly, Toronto. Okay, yeah, we don't have that updated yet. So that's good. We're doing good the past couple days, man.
Yeah, at least we have projections there.
Yeah, we do have the projections. I mean, look, everything's populating now, so my guess is we'll have ownership in
Yeah, it usually takes a couple minutes longer.
Yeah, it takes a couple minutes. We'll get there. But I think just looking at this, even a cursory view out of the gate, I think you would say that, well, Philly's healthy right now too. Everybody's back for Philly. So when you're looking at these salaries, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid, I don't think the Harden price point, the Embiid price points are crazy, but you just aren't getting to Maxey at that salary. So are you saying just early on right now, some Embiid, some Harden is fine, but the rest of Philly's pretty much easy to overlook?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Embiid's probably the best. If we don't have ownership for optimal percentage yet, but if you sort by boom percentage, Embiid's fourth on the slate behind only Giddey, Jokic, and Porzingis. But the problem, the reason I think he's still not like a huge priority is that Jokic is ahead of him and only $500 more expensive, assuming he plays. And then you know that you're going to have a bunch of other centers that look really good as well at cheaper price points. So you're still going to run into that opportunity cost issue. But he does look very good individually at his salary.
Just to round this game out, because I don't want to gloss over it entirely. At the top for Toronto, Siakam, Van Vliet. Do you think it's going to be tough to get to those salaries today? I know they're not 10K, but like there's just so much available to us.
Yeah, there's going to be so much available. I think that all four of those guys, and you can include Anunoby if you want, but I think he's a step behind Van Vliet, Siakam, Poeltl, and Barnes. I think all four of those guys are sort of just like solid pieces that you can throw into a lineup like in your last spot. You're not going out of your way to get them because they are pretty much correctly priced and they are healthy, but they're also still good players. Like that's the nice thing about these big slates is you can just get the good players that are relatively low owned. All of these guys have between an 11 and 16% boom percentage. So they're all just like solid plays that are not priorities.
Chicago and Charlotte. Chicago 9-point favorites against the Hornets, 224 total. We'll get to the injury news for Charlotte, but you guys are probably pretty familiar with what's going on there. Andre Drummond, Alex Caruso questionable. Aside from that, everybody's good to go here. Just looking at the Bulls, though, I mean, DeRozan, LaVine, Vooch, they are essentially the identical in price across the board. Vooch coming off a phenomenal game against that Lakers team, 36 minutes. You're going to see all of these guys play big minutes if it's a competitive game. They've been involved in a lot of blowouts lately. Do you want to get to any of the big three up top of Chicago?
Am I high or do we not have Chicago in the boom bust tool?
Probably both. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was just looking for, yeah, you're right.
Okay. So we don't have this game in there. So give me a second so I can pull it up somewhere else. I mean, I can tell you without looking that LaVine, Vooch, and DeRozan are all going to be good tournament plays that probably aren't priorities on a 13-game slate, with all of them in. But, it is a good matchup. You do get a high ceiling from them. Price tags are certainly reasonable, $8,100 a piece on Vooch and LaVine, $8,200 on DeRozan. But as long as all three of them are healthy, it's just very difficult on a 13-gamer to point to it and say like, oh yeah, you need to be jamming in LaVine here. You need to be jamming in DeRozan. But all three of them are very good plays. And outside of that, I don't think there's really anything from Chicago.
Yeah, nice 117 implied total for the Bulls today. Really not bad. On the other side, you have Charlotte, though, and you and I have talked about it. The Bulls playing at the slowest pace in the league since the start of March. Absolutely crawling pace for them. The Charlotte Hornets have the lowest implied total of any team going today. The Denver Nuggets at 108. That's interesting. Are we just assuming that they sit everyone today? That's interesting, right? Denver has a lower implied total, the same implied total right now as Portland.
Yeah, I mean, they're 9.5-point dogs at Phoenix.
Huh. Lower than the Jazz. Anyway, we'll get into that. Whatever. But it just jumped off the page at me. Looking at the Hornets, Terry Rozier is out. Gordon Hayward is doubtful. Kelly Oubre and Dennis Smith Jr. are questionable. Obviously, given their standing, this late in the season, good chance that they sit as well. So in the event that everybody's out, PJ Washington is $8,500 coming off that monstrous game. And then you're looking at Svi Mikhailuk at like 63 and Nick Richards at 6K. They have a really low total here. Maybe you can help me navigate through this one. I guess the question is more so, hey, not are these guys going to get minutes, but Charlotte's not exactly a discounted team anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So for one, if Oubre and Smith play, I don't really care about anything on this team. Like you could certainly get to them. Oubre in particular at 7,200 would be interesting, but still a very slow Chicago team, like you said. But they would really make it difficult to get to the other pieces because they're priced up and those guys in this hypothetical would be in. But for the like if those guys are out, this team does become, pretty much correctly priced. Mikhailuk at 6,300. Yeah, he gets plenty of opportunities, but and he's going to play, probably mid-30s minutes, but he's kind of priced for that. Same goes for PJ Washington at that elevated price tag. He has a ceiling still because there's nobody else to play offense on this team, but it's not a great matchup, and he's very expensive. Teo Maledon is more expensive now as well. He's up to 5,500. I think that is still a reasonable value. The center position might be the most interesting position to target because last game we had Nick Richards start and Kai Jones back him up. The game before that, we had Williams and Jones in with Richards out. So I think today should be Mark Williams starting with Richards backing him up, if I'm not mistaken. And at 5,800, that does make Mark Williams kind of interesting.
We just got ownership. The Bulls, this speaks to kind of what you were saying. Bulls, Levine, DeRozan, Vooch are all around like 13 to 15% right now. That seems that seems reasonable. And then we have the Hornets. Once again, you don't need ownership projections, man.
No, I mean, I'm good enough to do this without them. It just makes my life easier.
Yeah. The Hornets are getting zero ownership with Oubre and Dennis Smith Jr. projected in. Yeah, with those guys projected in, with everybody's salaries raised, that would be a team, especially against the slowest paced team in the league right now, to just fade entirely if they play.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if they're all in, I could see taking shots on Oubre, and I guess sort of Mark Williams if he's starting, but like that's just it.
By the way, we have no ownership coming into Toronto right now. Very little coming into Philadelphia. Man, if Embiid really comes in at 2.9%, that could make things interesting.
That would definitely be interesting.
Yeah, I would like that quite a bit.
And speaking of the Embiid ownership, I saw somebody in chat say that a lot of times these high end guys don't like. I think the way he worded it was pay off on large slates. And that is true. It's not that they don't pay it off. It's that there's just so many mid-range guys that it really increases the probability that a few, 8K guys score 60 fantasy points just because there are so many of them playing. And once that happens, then for it to be optimal to have the top end guy, you need them to go for 80 or whatever, which is obviously very unlikely. And there's fewer of them. Like you still only have a few top end guys while you have, 40 guys between 6K and 8K. So, you do typically, I think, end up getting a little bit more balanced on these larger slates. The exception being if you end up getting a team that, it's just playing 8 guys at 3K, then obviously you just end up on the top guys.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think it goes both ways, right? In the sense that if there's a couple teams that rule everyone out and now you're getting a 3K player that's going to play 40 minutes and, now you can just plug Joel Embiid in with zero care in the world because you have all the salary possible when you've got 3 guys sub 4K that are going to play starter minutes in a good spot.
Right. I think those slates are actually my least favorite because it ends up being there's not even a great way to approach them because when you're talking about we were getting Miami earlier in the year, for example, say you have a team playing 8 guys and all those guys are sub 4K, you get this situation where you can't just avoid that team because they're going to play so many minutes. And so then you're well, you either need to just plug in some combination of the top projected guys, which is what everybody else is going to do, or you forego the top projected guys and go mid-range, but then you're just giving up so many points in terms of projections. So I think those particular slates are really difficult, but barring slates like that, you typically do just end up getting a little bit more balanced on slates like this. And maybe that is why we're seeing the lack of ownership on Embiid.
For sure. All right. Let's talk about the OKC Thunder and Indiana Pacers. Thunder 2.5 point favorites, 236.5 total here. Boys got to get a win on the road, but you're talking about no SGA once again. Giddey seems like one of these plays where, to me, I look at the optimal and I go, it makes sense. Positive leverage here, 12% ownership. You would like that because you bet them to win the finals. You got to get them into the playoffs first.
Yeah, I unfortunately broke SGA's ankle when I did it.
Yeah, exactly. But Giddey has the ceiling, right? He was 1 rebound shy of a triple-double just a couple games ago against Charlotte. Clearly a good matchup against this Indiana Pacers team. That game just saw 285 total points, albeit involving the Milwaukee Bucks. I do think there are a couple interesting spots here. Nobody's just jumping off the page as great salary, but yeah, just given where they're at right now in a phenomenal matchup, 236.5 total and a 2.5 point spread, I still don't think Giddey is way overpriced at all.
No, I still think he's certainly playable. He's been about a 1.3 DraftKings point per minute guy without SGA this year. And I know I said it before, but there's sort of been a narrative around him. I don't know if it still exists, but for a lot of the season that he's worse without SGA. And it's not true. The reason it's seemed that way is that a lot of the games that Giddey's played without SGA have been the second half of a back-to-back. And there have been a couple of times where we've gotten weird Josh Giddey rotations where they just limit his minutes. But from a point per minute standpoint, he is a little bit better without SGA, as you would expect. And we shouldn't expect him to play limited minutes here. So he does still look fine at 8,700. The price tag, is up there, but he deserves it. 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy, probably giving you on average around 32 minutes.
Anybody else you want to talk about, like Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe? Any other spots worth targeting in a really good spot?
I think Jalen Williams is probably the best play from OKC. His price tag just hasn't moved as much as Josh Giddey's has. He's still coming in at 7,500. He's been about a 1.25 fantasy point per minute guy this year when SGA is out and Giddey is in. And that's not even talking about recently, because we've definitely seen him get better as the year's gone on as well. But overall this year, around 1.25 fantasy points per minute, averaging 33 or 34 minutes per game in these situations. So I really like Jalen Williams. Josh Giddey, again, looks good. If you get to some Isaiah Joe, that's fine. I do think 15% is probably a little bit high on him. Lou Dort, again, like if you get to him as a last guy in, sure, but on a 13 gamer, you probably don't really need it. But Jalen Williams, I think, is actually the top guy from OKC for me, followed by Giddey.
Okay. On the Pacers, I don't really know what to make of guys like Isaiah Jackson in the event that Miles Turner were to sit again, because you still have Smith getting like significant enough minutes off the bench. Is there really a clear guy here when neither of these guys are actually priced cheap? Like, what is Jackson's, what's he, 49? Jalen Smith's 5,300. I'm not sure even if Turner sits that there's a clear cut go-to guy in this front court for the Pacers today.
Yeah, I don't really think that there is now that price tags have come up. You're typically getting somewhere around 24 minutes apiece if Turner is out for Jackson and Jalen Smith. Jackson's up to 4,900 at center. Jalen Smith is 5,300 power forward eligible. They've kind of been alternating their starts as well, so I don't know who would even start. But either way, we've typically seen the minutes pretty much be split. You could certainly argue that whoever's starting has an easier path to getting the bulk of the minutes, but that hasn't really been the case so far. I think that in that situation, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, I probably prefer Jalen Smith just because he does have the power forward eligibility, whereas Jackson is taking up a center spot. But they're both at price points where you're not going to love either one. There's plenty of downside risk on both. There is also upside on both. If Turner is in, obviously they can both safely be ignored. You
got any interest in Turner if he is in? We have him with a nice leverage score here.
I think he's interesting if he's in at 6,800. I mean, it's not like it's a bad matchup. He's a good point per minute guy. He's only 6,800. There are going to be, a million good centers you can get to on the slate, even more so than usual. But if this is a real ownership projection and he's going to be like 7% owned, I'm interested. The optimal percentage at 14% makes me think that if you get Turner ruled in, that ownership probably ends up closer in the like 10 to 15% range.
All right. Well, let's keep it moving here then. Unless you want to get to anything else for Indy. This doesn't look like a very good team today, whether Turner's in or out.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem great. McConnell's at 5,700, so whatever. Like, you can play him, but there's just going to be better plays today. Same, I think, goes with Mather and Nembhard. Like, they're all just pretty much correctly priced. They would be – make this a 6-gamer, and this whole team's getting like 15% ownership. Make it a 13-gamer, and you kind of just don't care about them. So spots like that, like, it makes for – decent contrarian plays. Like if you're playing a bunch of lineups and in one or two of them, TJ McConnell's your contrarian piece or whatever, that's fine. But it's just really, really difficult to get to a lot of.
Orlando going on the road against banged up Washington team that'll be without Beal and Kuzma again today. Gafford questionable for Washington too. Orlando though, clean bill of health for this team today. Still a little bit of ownership going to Banchero and Markelle Fultz, a little bit to Wagner. But again, there's just so many games on this slate that it's very difficult for me, at least early in the day, to look at Fultz or Banchero. And Banchero's played well. Don't get me wrong. It is a good spot to look at them and go like, yeah, I need to have these guys in my lineup today. Is this more a tournament team just from kind of the top 3 or 4 guys, just straight tournament plays for you?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of, that's how Orlando's looked for a while now. It's just, Banchero, Fultz, Carter, Franz Wagner play enough minutes at their salaries that they have nice ceilings, but they're also correctly priced because they have to deal with each other, cutting into each other's production. The $6,600 price tag on Wendell Carter is interesting. I'm kind of confused why Miles Turner has a 14% optimal percentage and Wendell Carter's is 4% at basically the same price, because I think they're very similar plays. But, 2%, 3% ownership coming into Carter right now. No problem with that, but there's just a million good centers. It's just another team where I think you grab one of those main 4 guys, use them to be contrarian here and there, but there's nothing that stands out.
How about your boy Kristaps Porzingis with no Beal and Kuzma today? This price point has come up considerably, but he's still relatively popular given the size of the slate. $9,500 on DraftKings, power forward, center eligibility, 12% right now. What's he looking like in the boom bust tool right now?
About correct.
Okay, yeah, basically in line with everything else. Yeah, and then Gafford's questionable. So if Gafford sits, that could make things a little bit interesting here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like Porzingis with or without Gafford. I like him more if Gafford's out because you're getting more minutes at center. But Porzingis has now played 5 games this year without Kuzma and Beal. He's at 1.5 DraftKings points per minute. That includes last game where he went nuts against Boston in a blowout win. In the 4 games where Gafford's been in, he's still at 1.37 DraftKings points per minute. So that price tag hasn't moved enough to where I wouldn't want to get the Porzingis. Overall, in the 5 games without Kuzma and Beal, 29% usage rate. And if this game is competitive, you're likely getting 34 plus minutes from him. He has power forward eligibility. So I like Porzingis quite a bit. I do like him a little bit more if Gafford's out, but I like him one way or the other. As far as the rest of the team, I don't think there's a ton to like because salaries have adjusted. Denny Avdija is playing a lot of minutes, and to his credit, he's playing really well. Like he's earned a $7,100 price tag based on the way he's played recently. I still just don't trust Denny Avdija, but that's also like a bias thing for me. I think he's reasonable. He's getting 7% ownership, 9% chance of being optimal, should give you mid-30s in minutes, and again, playing really, really well. Corey Kispert should play a bunch of minutes. Morris and Wright both look fine, but don't really stand out. Gafford, if he's in, is probably playing mid-20s in minutes, but there's 100 good centers today. So I think the Avdija, Monte Morris, Kispert pieces are decent tournament plays. Porzingis, I actually like getting to.
Yeah, if he gets the start of the 5 again, 15% rebound rate with Gafford off the floor this year. Not bad. It's just a matter of Kristaps Porzingis is not the best guy when it comes to peripherals. Maybe it doesn't help him a ton, but you would think it helps him a decent amount to justify that $9,500 price tag if Gafford sits, right? What's that?
What'd you say?
I'm saying it might not do a ton for him if Gafford is out, but it does feel like it moves the needle a decent amount, at least if he's going to be getting those additional minutes at the 5 just to bring in more rebounds, because he hasn't been the most prolific rebounder with Gafford on the floor.
Yeah, no, it does. I think he's a good play either way, but I certainly like him more if Gafford is out because, like you said, you're just getting more rebounding. You probably get more blocks as well, just, playing the 5.
All right. What are we at next? New York Knicks, Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, here's a fun one. So, Nick, 222 total. Knicks 4.5-point dogs today. Julius Randle's going to be sidelined a little while, so that's interesting. Jalen Brunson returned last game, so I haven't even looked at ownership yet. Brunson is, where do we have Brunson as far as ownership goes? 7%. Okay. So no Randle today, but still nobody outside of Mitchell Robinson and a little Obi Toppin getting ownership. What do you make of Brunson here? 26% boom score, positive leverage. What do you think of Brunson? I know it's a grueling matchup. I get that, but with Randle off the floor, you're taking away a lot of production and a good amount of usage. Yeah,
it should open things up a little bit more for Brunson. Overall this year, he's been good anyway. 1.15 DraftKings points per minute overall. Looking now to see what he's done without Randle. But it should give him at the very least a higher ceiling. He's played 247 minutes without Randle, 1.21 DraftKings points per minute. So slight uptick from his average, 30.5% usage rate, 30% assist percentage. Certainly a very, very high ceiling for him. That price tag did also come up a little bit, but again, just a guy that if this were a 6-gamer, we'd be playing a lot of Jalen Brunson. Today, you get to play him at 7-8% ownership, and if he goes out there and has a huge game, then it's a way that you were able to differentiate. Obi Toppin, I assume, is going to start at 4K. He looks okay. Not a bad point per minute guy. 0.86 DraftKings points per minute in 776 minutes overall without Randall this year. Obviously, those rates should probably come down a little bit in this situation because he's going to be playing the bulk of his minutes with Brunson and and Barrett. He's at 0.85 DraftKings points per minute overall this year. I'm looking now to see what he's done with Barrett specifically on the floor. But the other concern, he's at 0.81 DraftKings points per minute with Barrett out there. The other concern that I have is that I'm not positive Toppin ends up in the closing lineup. I do expect him to start, but they did talk about Josh Hart filling in minutes at the 4 as well. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a closing lineup of Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Hart, and Robinson, or Brunson, quickly, Barrett, Hart, Robinson. So I don't think Toppin has to close. I think there's a decent chance that you end up getting like 24 minutes or something from him, which on this slate isn't super exciting. The flip side is if he's playing really well and he just plays like 34 minutes, then he's probably like a slate winner. But I think the most likely case is that you get, he starts the game, maybe closes the first half, probably closes the first half, starts the second half, and then doesn't come back, would be my best guess at what that rotation looks like. So it kind of just makes him look like a decent but not great value.
Do you agree with the 17% ownership going to Mitchell Robinson?
That one's weird to me. He is 4,300, so I get that. That's appealing, but the playing time's been relatively inconsistent lately with Hartenstein playing more. He's not involved offensively. I don't really think that's going to change too much without Randall. Right. Obviously, there's a lot of usage opening up, but I expect it to go more to Brunson and Barrett and some combination of Quickly and Hart because Mitchell Robinson doesn't have an offensive game. He's at 1.03 DraftKings points per minute in 140 minutes without Randall on the floor this year. Still only an 11% usage rate, so it's not like we see any weird uptick in that. Does have a 20% rebounding percentage. In the minutes he's played with Randall on the floor, he's at 0.89 DraftKings points per minute, 10.5% usage rate, 18% rebounding percentage. So you do see an uptick in rebounding from him that makes him look a little bit better. So I guess in short, I think he's a better play without Randall than he would be with Randall. And that coincides with his price tag falling to one of the cheaper salaries we've seen recently. 18% on a slate with 26 centers is still concerning, but I do get why he's getting ownership because he does look better and he is cheaper. I do want to emphasize, though, you shouldn't necessarily be expecting more minutes from Robinson because Randall doesn't play center. So you should still be expecting 48 minutes from Robinson Hartenstein, and it's totally unrelated to Randall how that breaks down.
Right, exactly. All right, on the Cleveland side, Darius Garland's pulling 26% right now. That's pretty significant. And then this Jared Allen being sidelined. Who knows what's going to happen with Lamar Stevens? I mean, there were times where Allen was out, Lamar Stevens starts, ends up playing like 12 minutes, or he plays a lot. And then last game, he plays 41 minutes. So what do you make of this starting lineup and what the rotations look like today with Jared Allen doubtful again?
Yeah, and Okoro out again, which was a big
right.
piece last game as well. So I expect that we get the same starting lineup as last game: Garland, Mitchell, Stevens, LeVert, Stevens, Mobley. I expect we'll get that same starting lineup. Garland looks good at 7,400. He is projected to go a bit over-owned. This is just a case where that $7,400 salary is clearly too cheap, and it stands out. He's a really good, point per dollar projection. From a range of outcome standpoint, he's just projected to have, too many people clicking him in, but that doesn't mean you can't play him. Like there's an abundance of very good plays not getting ownership today. So if you want Darius Garland in a lineup, just pick one or two of those guys and you're good. But it is a spot where if you're looking for pivots away from popular players, there's no shortage of point guards in the 7 to 8K range that can easily beat Darius Garland in a given game. But he's clearly a good play. Donovan Mitchell in tournaments is interesting at 9,100, not getting any ownership here. So that is certainly appealing given his scoring upside. Karis LeVert at 5,400, not a super productive player when he's starting with both of these guys because Garland and Mitchell rather are obviously going to soak up most of the production, but still getting more minutes. And so at 5,400, a decent price tag there. Lamar Stevens, not a very good point per minute guy either, but should play a lot of minutes. He's coming in at 4,700 now, though, so that makes that really difficult to get to. I think it's pretty much Garland, Mitchell, as the guys I really like. And then LeVert and Mobley look okay. Mobley more productive at center, but his price tags come up as well.
All right. Well, this Atlanta game has a 241 total. Hawks are 1-point favorites on the road.
Hang on, I just pulled it up. I hadn't gotten it up and hadn't pulled it up in time. But 8 starts this year for Karis LeVert, where Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell have both been in. 0.7 DraftKings points per minute, 15.5% usage. So that's the negative. The positive is 34 minutes per game.
Yeah, I think his usage last game had to have been like 10% or something. He played 34. You said LeVert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because you're losing Okoro, who's a 0 on the scoreboard, and Allen's not exactly a prolific scorer either. So you still have Mobley, Mitchell, and Garland that you're contending with, and now you're starting and not even playing those minutes off the bench, where a significant amount of them might come with, a couple of those guys on the bench when you get on the floor. So it's like you need every minute you can get if you're Karis LeVert playing alongside that trio all game.
Right. It basically, the playing time creates a situation where at least he's on the floor, and you're going to get some percentage of games where he just runs into a good game, whether it's the way they're being defended, he's just getting open looks, or he runs into steals or rebounds or whatever. But the drop in production is massive.
Atlanta, Brooklyn. Before we do, Bet365. Literally the best promo out there in the country. I can't say the world because I'm not versed in sportsbook promos in Austria, but I can say in the United States, specifically Colorado, Ohio, New Jersey, and Virginia. Those are the 4 states. I know not all of you guys have access to that, but if you're physically located in one of those states, this is the best promo you're going to find. Okay. And yes, it's coming to Iowa and Pennsylvania very shortly. So stay tuned for that. But for now, Colorado, Virginia, New Jersey, and Ohio. You're talking about betting $1 and getting $200 in bet credits. I told you guys the other day, these promos don't stay around forever. It was just 1 in the 365 earlier this week. They hit us up. They hit anybody up, and they're like, listen, effective immediately at midnight, it's now 1 into 200. So I can tell you with relative certainty that soon they're just going to say, all right, we're not doing this at all anymore, because you're not going to run this forever. If you're still on the fence and you missed out on the $1 in the 365, $1 into 200 is still the best promo you're going to find. The only other promo out there right now that I could find was DraftKings 5 into 150 for new users, and you guys are already there. Plus, you have to win the bet. At Bet365, you don't need to win the bet. You don't need to bet $5 to get 150. You bet $1 to get 200, whether your bet wins or loses. So throw the $1 on a massive long shot. You can bet it on whatever the hell you want. Use the link in the description if you're trying to get this. Use the link that Jacob just threw into the chat right now. Click that. Takes a minute to sign up. Ultimately, let's say 2 minutes. I'll be generous. You're getting paid $200 in 2 minutes to take advantage of this. $100 every minute. You deposit $10. You sign up, takes a second. You sign up, deposit $10. Take $1 of that $10 and put it on any bet that you want. Once that settles, you now have $200 in bonus bets that you didn't have yesterday. It's the easiest investment, if you want to call it that, because you could build this up in the 4 or 5 figures that you'll ever make in your life. And even if you lose everything, let's just say you're a dog shit bettor, or you go on the worst run of your life. Either or. Even
now I'm listening.
even if you're a bet better, there's no, like, if you're, let's say you're not good at sports betting and you're learning, tell me a better way to learn than just getting $200 in free bets. There isn't. You could lose all of this, right? And still gain some knowledge along the way. And at the end of the day, you go, okay, I'm down $1. I mean, it's a legit no-brainer. Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, and New Jersey, $1 bet turns into $200. I mean, anyone else offers you this anywhere else in the world, you're going, okay, no second thoughts. I'll take your $1, or I'll give you $1 and take your 200. So check it out. Got to use the link in the description or in chat, but we got you covered. Sign up, takes a minute, get your 200 for free. And as you know, must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's keep it going. Atlanta and the Brooklyn Nets, the Hawks. This has been a Hawks team that's constantly involved in high scoring games, but just no one ever pulls a ton of ownership at them because they're usually healthy.
Yeah. So it's another team that looks pretty appealing in tournaments when you look at the ownership. A sub 9K Trae Young only pulling 10% ownership. There's nothing not to like about that. DeJounte Murray at 7,600, only pulling 8%. This is a perfect example of somebody that is a very reasonable pivot to Darius Garland, who we just talked about. Again, Garland looks good, but DeJounte Murray is certainly beating him more than 1 in 3 times, which is what the ownership suggests right now. Young is a good option. I think that Donovan Mitchell is a very good pivot away from Young, though, if 10% ownership is more than you want in that spot. But either way, both of those guys look good. Clint Capella at 6,200, another just center in this 6K range, getting no ownership that does have a high ceiling. If he gives you 28 to 30 minutes, certainly has upside, but he does have to contend with a Okongwu as his backup, so that playing time isn't the most consistent. It's just a team where, again, nobody really stands out. Young, Murray, Capella would be the guys that I want to get to.
What about on Brooklyn today, where, again, massive total, 1 point spread, and then you've got a team that outside of Ben Simmons is pretty healthy. Bridges still isn't that priced up, though. So I get the ownership coming in there. That Dinwiddie salary looks pretty enticing, too, especially given how he is essentially the only capable playmaker on this team right now is Spencer. Look at the rest of the guys that get minutes on this team. Who else is distributing the basketball?
Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody. Like Bridges shoots fine. He's a gunner, but he's not a playmaker. I'm just saying Dinwiddie has big double upside in a spot like this.
Oh yeah. And you had mentioned that, when he first came over, that he was kind of running bad on his assist opportunities. We're now up to 20 games where Bridges and Dinwiddie have played together. 37.5% assist percentage for Dinwiddie, 23% usage rate, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute in those games, 35.2 minutes per game. For Bridges, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute in 36 minutes per game, a 28.9% usage rate, 14.5% assist percentage. So you have seen him be a secondary playmaker, but certainly not anywhere close to the level of Dinwiddie. It makes both of those guys look good because they're playing big minutes. They're in a good matchup. There's nothing to dislike about these two guys. Again, there's plenty of other players around them that can certainly beat them on this slate. It's a situation where they're one of the favorites to be the highest scorer in their range, but you would still take the field over them. But at 18% ownership, I don't have a problem with either one. It's a good spot, reasonable prices. They should play big minutes. They're both productive. I like them both.
Here are the players since the start of March averaging more potential assists than Spencer Dinwiddie: James Harden and Nikola Jokic.
That's pretty good.
Not bad.
I noticed that there was not a center for the Sixers on that list, but there is Nikola Jokic.
That is funny. Yes, we could go to points.
Well, I mean, anybody can shoot a lot.
We go to defense.
Yeah, neither one's very good at that.
I don't know, dude. Jokic sat yesterday. I
know. I messed that one up. I had bet Jokic when Embiid sat, and then I just didn't bet Embiid when Jokic sat, and now Embiid's back to being the favorite.
Yeah, it's so stupid, man.
I actually almost bet Giannis when Embiid sat, or when Jokic sat, and I'm glad I didn't do that because of how that game went yesterday.
Yeah, that didn't help.
No.
But Chris Paul's at 15.7, Trae Young 15.6 potential assists, Dinwiddie at 15.5. So I'm just lumping them together. The only guys standing out above them. Yeah, so it's a really good spot for those two. But once I get below that, I mean, Claxton, I think, fine against this Atlanta team. There's nobody else you can play from Brooklyn right now once you get past those three guys.
Yeah, pretty much. On Claxton, playing big minutes, 7,100, pulling 12% ownership. Looks good to me. Again, I've named a bunch of 6K centers that are a lot lower owned that are, I think, also good plays, but you're seeing at least the potential for increased playing time from Claxton. We know he's a good point per minute guy. But yeah, other than those three, I have a difficult time getting to anything. Cameron Johnson's salary jumped $900 after last game. He did play 36 minutes. You still get a ceiling from him, but I think he's a little bit more difficult to get to at that increased salary when the other salaries, didn't increase. He's played 20 games now with Bridges and Dinwiddie, just shy of a fantasy point per minute, 30.4 minutes per game, but we were seeing a little bit shorter leash on him when he first came to Brooklyn. I do think it's reasonable to expect low to mid 30s from him now. So he's fine. It's just that salary jumped pretty quickly.
Yeah, the Utah Jazz today. Oh, no Clarkson, no Sexton still. Lauri Markkanen's out as well. Kelly Olynyk is questionable. How about some Simone Fontecchio today for you? This guy's just been absolutely lights out, stellar, scorching every opponent he faces since the injuries piled up.
Has he actually? Because you could be being completely sarcastic, and I'd have no idea.
Dude, he's been terrible.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He had one decent game, one decent game against Milwaukee. Aside from that, he's been terrible. And let's be clear here. It's not like he's faced a murderer's row of defensive opponents either. Like Sacramento, Portland, Sacramento, San Antonio. Now you got Boston on the road. I don't care if the Celtics are playing the second of a back-to-back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you said it, I was like, I don't think he's been doing well, but maybe this is why I haven't been winning. It's because Fontecchio is just smashing, and I didn't know it.
He's got a sweet name, though.
Yeah, that he does. But yeah, nothing that looks very good here at all. Tough matchup going into Boston. Massive underdogs, I assume. It looks like the line is not up right now, but
13.5.
Okay, that's what I thought I'd seen earlier. But yeah, there's nothing that looks particularly good to me. Like at all.
Enough. What?
I said at all.
No, fair enough. I don't need a further explanation there. I will expand on one thing though, and then we can move on. If Kelly Olynyk sits, does it still do anything? Like, I don't really think that it doesn't move the needle much on Walker Kessler. I do believe it helps Horton Tucker, just THT, just because Kelly Olynyk has done a lot as a playmaker with Clarkson out, but you're still paying almost $8K for Talen Horton Tucker today against Boston. Right.
That's the problem, is that the salaries have come up. And from a, like, who else can you get to standpoint, it doesn't really open anything. You got Juan Toscano-Anderson starting last game, which I expected. He played about 24 and a half minutes, which is about what I was expecting. You had Samanic in the rotation. He played about 25 minutes. That's who replaced Jarrell Brantley on the roster. Azubuike played 24 minutes, but don't read into that too much because Walker Kessler only played 20 and a half. They did play Damian Jones at the 4, which was surprising. So he got up to like 22 minutes, but it's still like, I don't think I need to play 22 minutes, even if they run that exact rotation again. Like, I don't think I need 22 minutes of Damian Jones at center on a 13-game slate. Samanic is up to 4,200 already. I don't think I need to go there. Zhang didn't really get much of a bump. I don't need to play Toscano-Anderson on this slate. I don't expect Azubuike to play more minutes than Walker Kessler again, so I'm not going there. It still just doesn't change that much.
No. 1-2 said, Adam, so you're telling me you've clicked Tony Snell's name before? So I decided to look this up. What do you think are the most fantasy points Tony Snell has ever had in a game? DraftKings scoring.
He's definitely had big games. Like probably in April. Has he had a 50 fantasy point game?
I'm asking you. I got it.
I think he has. I feel like he has.
Just tell me what you think his best game was from a DraftKings. I'll give you a hint. He was on Milwaukee.
54.
38.
Okay. I thought I remembered him having a huge game. Maybe it was just a huge game by Tony Snell's standards.
I don't know. I mean, this is regular season. Maybe it was.
It certainly wasn't in the playoffs. There was a game. I figured it was just like there was a Milwaukee game where they played 6 guys a couple years ago. I figured it was like that one.
Could have been. Yeah, he has a bunch over 30. But I mean, for the amount of games he's played, having 10 games over 30 fantasy points in your career.
And to answer 1-2's question, no, I've never clicked Tony Snell's name, but my optimizer has, so I'll just blame that for it.
Yeah. Yeah, there were games where, like, here's one, 44 minutes. He needs all the minutes he could get.
Oh, yeah.
38 fantasy points. And mind you, this was against the 2017 76ers.
Oh, God, that had to be a great game.
Yeah. That was not the best 76ers team. I can assure you of that. I believe that was towards the end of the tank, I think.
I think so. That's right? That probably is the game I'm thinking of. I can't remember the guy's name from Milwaukee, but some random dude came in, just played like 46 minutes and scored like 60-something DraftKings points.
Yeah. I think those were the Okafor years. And like Nerlens Noel Yeah. Okafor was in there. What a brutal season that was. All right. Oh no, he only played 2 games for Philly that year. Must have been whatever. Doesn't matter. We got
what was the date for that game?
The date, I think it was like March 6th or something. Hold on. March 6th, 2017.
And where was it?
It was in Philly. March 6th, 2017 in Philadelphia.
Okay, yeah, this wasn't the one that I was thinking of.
Wait, did Milwaukee you pull up the box score?
Yeah, I pulled it up.
Who are the Sixers starters?
TJ McConnell, Gerald Henderson, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and Rashawn Holmes.
Oh, it was Holmes.
Yeah. TLC played 24 minutes off the bench. Stauskas played 26 and a half. Justin Anderson played 22 and a half.
Anderson, yeah. Yeah, Noel wasn't even there anymore. He was in Dallas.
Yeah, you had Sean Long get 15 minutes. Sergio Rodriguez played 23 and a half.
Damn, what a horrible team that was. Who won?
The Bucks won by 14, which seems like not a lot considering that their starting lineup was Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Snell, and Thon Maker.
Damn. Wait, was that the Brogdon Rookie of the Year season? It must have been. Maybe. Or has he been around longer than that and I'm just crazy?
I have no idea.
I feel like okay.
I'm mostly just impressed by the brevity of the show as we pull up box scores from 6 years ago.
You pulled the box score up, brother. You pulled the box score up. This is important, hard-hitting stuff. All right.
He was Rookie of the Year that year, yes.
He was, yeah. Okay. Because everyone thought it should have gone to MB, but he only played like 6 games. No, I think he played like 40 or something. But all right. Boston Celtics, second of a back-to-back. These guys got a little bit of rest in that second half yesterday, but still huge favorites today. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to get to the Celtics unless they decide to sit some players. If they do, then Boston, like, it wouldn't shock me if as 13.5-point home favorites they do, but they're also now only like 2 games out of number or first place in the East. So kind of a tricky spot here. I'm not sure how to play it. I guess we just assume everyone's in.
Yeah, I mean, for now, assume they're in. We'll get the injury report this afternoon. But if they're in, it is tough. Like, it's a really good matchup, but pricing is just pretty much correct. So it's another tournament team where if you get to a 4% owned Tatum, great. He can go for 60 and you're in good shape. Jaylen Brown at 9,200, same kind of thing. Price tag did come up from yesterday when he was really mispriced at 8,600. But, getting to those 2 guys, I think it's probably the most appealing here because they're the ones that are most likely to just, go have a score that you have to have. When you talk about guys like Derek White, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, they can all put up big scores for their salaries. And so they're fine in tournaments, but they're less likely, obviously, to just be the guy where it's like, oh, you have to have them to win. Because even if, let's say Marcus Smart goes for 40 points at 5,700, that's great. And you would want it in your lineup, but there's going to be other guys in that range that go for 40 points as well. If Jaylen Brown goes for like 60, that could very easily just be a piece you have to have. If Jason Tatum goes for 65, same kind of thing. So I think that if I am going to this team, it's mostly those 2 guys.
Okay. Let's move it on then. Ryan said, Laffy, I noticed Manscaped hasn't been back as a sponsor ever since you showed your dong live on stream. Did they get scared? No, quite the contrary, actually. We just heard that was a trial run with Manscaped. And they hit us up and they said they were very happy with everything. So if I had to guess, they will be back in the near future. So yeah. By the way, man, I use that nut cream every time I get out of the shower. It's a game changer. I still haven't gotten.
I haven't gotten in the habit. I always forget, and I'm like, shit, I forgot again.
Yeah, and you got to do it fresh out of the shower, right? You have to. So what I've been doing, because I was forgetting too, because it's hard to get in the routine. It's new. I've been doing something for however many years. I just take it out of the vanity and I put it on the counter.
Right. Yeah. That I was going to say that's the other problem is I actually like put it in the vanity. Like I tried to be an adult and like put things away instead of just having a bunch of shit on my sink. And then I just forget that it's there.
I've been trying to take it out before the shower, like remind myself.
Right.
I try. Yeah. I don't want to have it just sitting out there all day.
Right.
But it's a game changer. And then I'll get out of the shower. I get all dry. A couple hours later, I start, other than that.
Yeah. Then you got the spritzer.
Then you got to spritzer up. Yeah. But I go, I should have used it. I should have just used it. I wouldn't be having this issue. Nevertheless, we'll get back to Manscaped. I can't wait, by the way. I will be reordering for sure. But let's talk about the Lakers. You got them 1-point favorites against Minnesota, 232.5 total. Do we have to talk about the Lakers today?
I don't think so. The highest, there's nobody on this team right now projected to be higher than 0.4% on DraftKings. That's Anthony Davis. LeBron James.
Look at the highest optimal score.
Yeah, LeBron James leading the way with a 2% chance of being optimal. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are both really good at basketball. If you play them fine, I think it's going to be really tough at those prices.
Okay. Yeah, look, this is one where until these prices start to dip enough, it's not going to be an easy team to get to. The projections, the boom bust tool certainly bears that out right now. Yeah. By the way, boom bust tool, top stack tool for baseball, boom bust tool for every sport, top pitchers tool, projections for all player projections, ownership projections, lineup generator, lineup builder, football, XFL, basketball, baseball, hockey, MMA, PGA, NASCAR, tennis, all those projections, all the tools, 50% off right now, whether you are a new user or, ready for this point, or if you have been with us before and you want to come back, if you've been on the fence, you're a returning user, 50% off. Usually this is only for new users. The MLB is back promo is 50% off every single thing on the site. And if you wanted to add the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, you could do that as well. The link is in the description. The link is in chat. You could, of course, use the promo code, but it's way easier to just bypass all of that. Click the link, get set up, hop into the premium Discord, and you're in business. So if you haven't done so yet, if you're a new user looking for the best opportunity to get in, or you're a returning prospective returning user looking for the best time to get in, especially you guys who have been here before and are looking to come back, no better opportunity than now. 50% off the entire site. Stochastic plus platinum. Jacob's cat just crawled on top of his chair. That's a good looking cat. Look at that. Look at those stripes. Yeah, 50% off everything on the site. Link in the description and in chat. You have any questions, like I said, on Twitter, you can DM me and I'll be happy to help you out. But yeah, all of that 50% off. It's only good through, I think, tomorrow or Sunday. So if you've been thinking about it, no better time than now. All of the overlap that we have in sports, like 100 sports going on right now, you're getting tools for all of them. And even if you aren't competent, even if you're not proficient in understanding every one of these sports, that's why we have those tools to put you in a spot where you can still be competitive. And the hope is that you win a lot of money and you come back and hang with us for a while. So check it out. That goes away in just a couple of days. Link down below and in the chat. All right, Minnesota. Man, Towns got off to a great start the other day, hit my PRA over in the first half, went to sleep, woke up, and he did not do much at all in the second half. But everybody's basically probable today for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, and it makes it, I mean, it's a relatively appealing matchup, but it makes it another pretty difficult team to get to. Towns is pulling some ownership, pulling 11%, $8,100 power forward. I don't have a problem with that. My concern is that so far since his return, he has been pretty scoring dependent. You're not getting a ton in the way of rebounding. He did have 8 last game, but 5 and 4 in the previous 2. You're not getting a lot of playmaking, but it's still Karl Anthony Towns. It's still a very talented player coming back from a long layoff. He's playing decent minutes, played about 32.5 minutes last game. So I think you do start seeing more production. 33.5 minutes last game. I think you do start seeing more production from him sooner rather than later. Overall this year, he's played 21 games where Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert have been active. He's averaged 1.18 DraftKings points per minute in those games, 25% usage rate, 12.5% rebounding percentage, 22.5% assist percentage. So you do get a very high ceiling from him based on his talent level. You know, you do still have Edwards and Gobert cutting into production, but at 8,100 and power forward eligible, I do think that's a pretty solid play. Other than that, not a ton. You know, Anthony Edwards is always fine in tournaments. Shooting guard, small forward, very high ceiling for him. Rudy Gobert pulling 6% ownership at 7,300. Another perfectly fine tournament center. You know, if you're looking to get away from some of the more popular guys, Gobert does give you a very high ceiling, but I think Towns is the easiest guy to get to here.
Okay. Salvo G, appreciate you, man. Just gifted 10 Stochastic YouTube memberships. What a guy. And I say thank you to him in chat, and he says, thanks for the great show. I mean, this guy's just giving back to the community. It's the type of community we want here, and we appreciate you for that. Vic David Figueroa said, hit the like. It's free in 2023. It is, and we're already over 100. So you know what else?
I just said it. I'd forgotten.
Okay, so now we get to 103 from you. There we go. We're in business. Our chalkboard app's also free. Guys, we got 5 games to go. This is the last you'll hear from me about anything. But we're almost at 1,000 subs. I'm giving away 5 free BetPro memberships monthly today once we get to 1,000 subs, assuming we get there today. But I just want to shout out everybody for helping us build that community. You've been the best. And all of the picks in there are free. Greg and I already dropped some in for this morning. Baseball, basketball, you name it. The community's amazingly supportive. Dude, we've only been doing it for 2 weeks. We're almost at 1,000 members in there, and it's a super active group with great people. So if you're not in there yet, that chalkboard link is down below. It's free. Like, it's always free. It's not, oh, sign up for this, and then a month later we hit you with something. It's always going to be free. We're just trying to build a great community around sports betting. There's DFS talk in there. And if you're someone that's, can't pay for that type of stuff right now, hop in. It's all free, and we'll build a great community together. So click that link, get in there. Chalkboard is an awesome app. It's new, and we're building it up. So appreciate you guys. Okay, let's move on. We got 5 games to go. We're actually not doing too bad for 13 games, Adam. And
no, we should be out by noon.
What's that?
I said, no, we should be out by noon. There's at least one more off the rails part coming, I'm sure. So
fair enough, but don't blame it all on me. I mean,
no.
You indulge is the problem. Like, I'll start it, and then I'll try and get back on track, and you'll be like, wait, when was that game? So that's not all me.
Wait, now I have popcorn machine open.
Detroit, 5.5 point dogs against Houston. We're going to get at, there's some games that are just kind of ugly today.
All of them?
I don't see a ton with Detroit. All of the same guys. I'll read them off for you guys who might not play NBA every day. Bogdanovich, Magruder, Isaiah Stewart, Burks out. I do wonder, though, if Hayes doesn't play, because if Hayes doesn't play, he missed the end of last game with an apparent injury. If he's not out there, you might have to get to a little bit of Ivy today in a good spot against the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, he's not on the injury report, though.
Oh, he's not?
No.
Earlier today, I had seen that he got banged up, and I made the run sheet at like 8 a.m. So we must have had one come out where he wasn't. Okay, so he's good to go. Then
yeah, I mean, as of now, like, they could always add him, but or it's the Pistons, they could just not tell anybody. But as of right now, as of the 10:30 injury report, he is not on it, but all those other guys are out. So yeah, I mean, it's a good matchup. You have 2 cheap centers here that I think are sort of interesting in tournaments. The playing time split between them is always tough to figure out. Last game, you got 29 minutes from Wiseman. Nobody even knew who was starting until the game started. The Pistons announced that Duren was starting. Then they announced that Wiseman was starting. Then the Pistons announcers, after the game had already locked, announced that Duren was starting, and then Wiseman actually started. So I assume Wiseman is going to start again today. Played 29 in that one. He had played less than Duren in the game before that, but you're getting 48 minutes split between the two, and they're both between 5K and 5,500 on DraftKings. So if you want to play one of them and just hope that you run good on minutes, that's fine. They're both, good enough point per minute guys, but there's still a million centers on the slate. Jaden Ivey at 7,100 in tournaments is fine. Projected to go a little bit under-owned here, but clearly not a priority. Same can be said for Killian Hayes, but nothing that stands out as a priority here.
All right. What about on the Houston side?
I actually really like Houston here. So the thing with Houston recently is we've been talking about them a lot in the context of they're massive underdogs, but if the game's competitive, you're getting a ton of minutes from their starters. And we saw it again last game. You got 40 from Jabari Smith. You got 40 from Kevin Porter. You only got 32 from Jabari Green. I don't know what the reason for that was, but that's unusual. But you got 34 from KJ Martin. You got 33 from Şengün. That was in a game against the Nets where they were like 13.5 point dogs, but they kept it close. Today, they're only 5.5 point favorites against the Pistons. So this game certainly has the potential to be one of those really unappealing NBA games, but just a game that's competitive and high scoring. Also has the potential to just evolve into an absolute shit show where everybody sucks. But assuming it's competitive, you're getting big minutes from these Houston guys. 7K for Şengün playing low to mid 30s is certainly appealing, especially going up against, for a lot of those minutes against James Wiseman. Jalen Green at 6,900 with the potential to play 37 minutes looks good. Same goes for Kevin Porter at 7,700. KJ Martin at 5,700 looks fine. He's been playing really well recently in addition to playing big minutes. Jabari Smith's playing better and getting more minutes. He's only 6,400. Tari Eason's playing anywhere from like 22 to 28 minutes off the bench. Right now, Eason's projected for 19% ownership at 5,100. I think that's pretty insane. But if that ownership comes down, and I think that it will, he's certainly somebody you can play in tournaments. I just wouldn't want him at nearly 20%, but I like Houston quite a bit here.
Let's move on to the Clippers in Memphis. I don't know if Kawhi is going to play. He was ruled out, later in the afternoon or night. When we did the strategy show the other day, he definitely wasn't ruled out. And then later in the day, he got ruled out. Wasn't it like personal reasons?
It's personal reasons now. I didn't know why he was
personal.
Yeah, it was personal then too. Yeah.
So that was 6:41 Eastern time is when that news came in. If he doesn't play, then I guess if he does play, we have Norman Powell at 17% right now. I guess that's fine at his price point. I just wanted to pull up this last game from the Clippers, and it was actually, they got a road win against Memphis in that one, who was missing everyone but Dillon Brooks and John Morant, to be fair. But oh man, look at those minutes all over the map for the Clippers in that game. Wow. But also Covington was the last guy off the bench, but he just stayed out there because he couldn't miss.
Right. I was going to say, there's not even much you can take away from that game because Robert Covington played out of his mind, but he was the last guy off the bench. Like, I assume he's going to be in, like, if Kawhi is out today, I assume Covington's in the rotation, but you certainly aren't expecting 32 minutes from him again. Right. Bones Highland had a really big game. He only played 21 and a half minutes. Like, you're not expecting him to replicate that game again. So it's kind of difficult to take too much away from that last game in general. One big takeaway for me is that Norman Powell played 24 minutes. That was a pretty big question mark coming in, was, he had missed a bunch of time. Exactly how many minutes is he going to play? Because he is inexpensive. He was 4,300 that game. He's 4,800 now. Knowing he played 24 minutes in his first game back certainly makes him somewhat appealing, especially if Kawhi is out. But, as far as like Highland and Covington go, Covington's up to 4,900 now. Highland's up to 5,400. I could see taking shots at Highland maybe, but probably not on this slate, like maybe on like a late slate or something like that. It's even if Kawhi is out, I don't think I'm very confident in a lot of these other pieces. Like, it would make me like Russell Westbrook more. It would make me like Norman Powell more. But other than that, like Terrence Mann would most likely play big minutes if Kawhi is out. It's still a really difficult team to be confident in just because of their rotations.
Yeah, what a weird game. That was the Westbrook 5 for 5 from 3 game. And they closed with Westbrook, Highland, Mann, Covington, and Zubats. Like, that's probably not your closing lineup today.
Right.
I don't know. It's tough to make anything of it. I almost just hope Kawhi plays and we can ignore it.
Yeah.
Would you want any Kawhi?
If you get there, it's kind of like Tatum and Brown.
All right.
Same goes for Westbrook.
What's that?
Same goes for Westbrook.
Yeah. How much? Well, if Kawhi is out, do you want to pay that premium on Westbrook? I know he had an insane game last time.
Yeah, I mean, if Kawhi is out, Westbrook certainly looks better and becomes a solid play. Whereas if Kawhi is in, he's pretty much like, he's very difficult to get to if Kawhi's in. He still gives you a ceiling because he's playing more minutes without Paul George, but really difficult to get there. If Kawhi's out, you do get, Westbrook basically as the only offensive piece on this team. You certainly should not expect him to shoot 100%, probably from 3, probably ever again in his career. But, you're still getting big minutes and plenty of production out of him.
I have a tough time liking anything from Memphis with nobody on the injury report and like Bane and Jackson still being essentially priced for no Ja Morant.
Yeah, and Morant's price tag jumped 1,100 since last game. So, he's back to being where he's normally priced.
Where he should be, yeah.
Right. We did get a report from Taylor Jenkins that he wants to start ramping up his starters' minutes, which was noteworthy because he plays his starters probably as few minutes as any coach of a good team in the league. And that's actually been something that's plagued them in the postseason as well, is that he doesn't adjust and he plays a deeper rotation than he should. So that is something to keep an eye on. The pricing here, I think, is already at a point where, because of Morant being out, they're sort of priced like they need to play more minutes anyway. So I don't think it's particularly actionable today, but we did get 35 minutes from Morant in that last game. I wouldn't be surprised if you do continue getting like 35, 36 minutes from Morant for the rest of the season.
Well, that would be significant. Yeah. Anything else you want to get to for Memphis?
No.
All right. Where are we at next? All right. San Antonio, Golden State. San Antonio on the road, 16-point dogs today. Collins is out. Sohan is out. Do you have the injury report for 10:30 pulled up?
Yes.
Is Keldon Johnson questionable or is he not on it?
He is not on it.
Okay. Vassell and Langford still down there is questionable.
Yeah, Vassell and Langford are questionable. McDermott's probable. Sohan and Zach Collins and Charles Bassey and Kem Birch are all out.
Okay. Yeah. The latter two. Yeah. Okay. So now you're just looking at another spot where it's like, all right, you're going to get some guys who aren't normally big pieces of the rotation. Like Mamukelashvili is going to get a little bit of ownership here. Also, just, brutal matchup on the road in Golden State. Terrible basketball team, 16-point dogs. Mamu's getting 21% right now, only center eligible on a 13-game slate.
I have no idea what to make of him because he cannot be on the floor in this matchup, but also he's probably going to get like 24 minutes of garbage time. So,
right. It's also like, who cares if you're on? It's not like Joe Val the other day where they're actually trying to win basketball.
Right. Exactly. Like my first thought was like, they are going to just destroy him when he's on the floor. But then my second thought was that means the game's going to blow out and he's going to play like the entire second half anyway. So like it doesn't matter. And like you said, it's the Spurs. Like, who cares? He has started 3 games this year, 33 minutes, which was an overtime game, 25 and 28 minutes. He's a decent point per minute guy. At 5K, he's fine. I get why the ownership's there. I think he's probably going a little bit over-owned given that he is center only, but the minutes should be there. I don't think the Spurs are going to care enough to take minutes away from him. So perfectly fine as a value play, but certainly plenty of pivots that you can make elsewhere. The rest of the team is kind of tough because you have Keldon Johnson in, you have Jones in, assuming Vassell plays for now. Like, those guys cut into each other's production enough. I think it's kind of just Mamu and move on for me unless other guys start getting ruled out.
All right. Yeah, it makes and even he has a 6% optimal score right now, minus 14% leverage, and that's at 20% ownership.
Yeah. If you want to go, so this is something that we almost never talk about because it's almost never relevant, but Blake Wesley here at 3,300 is in the rotation one way or the other. And if this game blows out, he will play down the stretch, I would expect. So he does give you that path of like, well, he was tracking to play 18 to 20 minutes. Like, he plays 9 minutes in the first half, but then plays like 16 in the second half. He does have that in his range of outcomes at 3,300. I don't think that's super appealing on a 13-game slate, but probably worth mentioning.
I'm not going to lie, dude. On the other side, it's usually I'm not concerned about blowouts, but we're late season basketball right now. I mean, this is a Spurs team that just lost by, was it double digits to, I'm pretty sure the Spurs team just lost by double digits to the Utah Jazz. By 11 points to the Jazz, with the Jazz having literally nobody. Even Olynyk was out for that game, and they still had an 11-point win. This Spurs team is just horrible. Sure, Keldon Johnson's back. I don't know how much of I don't know how they keep this game competitive. I do truly have concerns about starter minutes for this Warriors team tonight.
I do too. The counterpoint I'd have is that they are relatively inexpensive and the Spurs are extremely bad. Like, you could three quarters can get it done at a lot of these price tags. Steph is expensive at 10.5. Like, clearly he can score 50 points in the first half, but outside of just stating the obvious that he has a very high ceiling, that's a tough one to get to, I think. But like, Thompson is reasonably priced at 6,800. Poole at 6,200 is a pretty reasonable price tag.
But if they blow him out, bench players are the worst players for a blowout.
Yeah, I was going to say Poole is concerning in a blowout. The guy that I like the most here is Kuminga. 4,300. Yeah, he started last game. I don't know if he'll start again today, but I assume he is. If he does, in that last game he played about 31 minutes, but he also probably, or at least possibly, gets garbage time here as well. Like, they just want to get Kuminga some minutes. Kerr recently was also talking about, if they could like become confident in Kuminga being as good a 3-point shooter as he has been recently, how it would open up a lot for them because they could play him alongside Draymond and Looney. So I don't know, like, if this game blows out, maybe they just get Kuminga some minutes at the 3 and see how that goes. Like, there's a path where, for one, he's 4,300. So let's say he does only play 3 quarters. He's still likely to put up a good fantasy score anyway, but then there's a path where like he gets garbage time minutes for one reason or another. So I do really like Kuminga. The rest of this team, they're risky because of this being a 17.5-point spread, but they are still playing the Spurs. You are getting not crazy ownership on them. Like, everybody's going to have those same blowout concerns that we just talked about. So I do still think they're interesting in tournaments, but Kuminga is the guy that I'm actually confident in.
Gotcha. The one that worries me the most is Poole, and he's getting the most ownership, honestly. Like, if that game blows out and he doesn't get his full rotation in the second half, his full allotment of minutes, that could get ugly. But I'm with you. Some of those guys are pretty inexpensive. Let's move on to Sacramento and Portland. And by the way, we're almost at 150 likes. Thanks to you guys. Not as many people as usual watching because you got baseball now. Some people have moved on to, as they may interpret them, as greener pastures, but we still got 450 watching with us today. The real, the true, you guys get it. That's all. Anyway, Sacramento, this Portland team is just getting absolutely routed in every game, as they should be. They lost by 40 last game, 34 the game prior to that. And there's nobody. Lillard's out. Jeremy Grant, Yusuf Nurkic, Anthony Simons. Cam Reddish is doubtful. Even if he plays, he's probably going to be a DNP CD anyway. Trendon Watford is questionable. Even Keon Johnson is out now. Like, they played 7 guys last game, Adam, and you had some of these dudes like Shaedon Sharpe playing 45 minutes. Nasir Little playing huge minutes. He was terrible. But, we could talk Sacramento real quick, but the Portland side probably seeing another massively condensed rotation tonight.
Yeah, the Sacramento side is kind of just status quo. De'Aaron Fox is cheap at 8K. Not getting any ownership either. That's another just solid pivot to like Darius Garland. Garland 25%, Fox 5, and you just need to find $600 for Fox. Domantas Sabonis, if you can get there at 10-4, clearly a massive ceiling as well. But the Portland side clearly is the interesting one. Very shorthanded team right now. We have Watford questionable. He's missed the last couple of games. Reddish doubtful. He went from doubtful to active last game, but did not leave the bench. Like you said, they played 7 players. So if Watford is back, he's 5,900. He's projected for a bunch of ownership here, has power forward eligibility. He'd look fine. But I mean, Eubanks at 5,400, I think is like a decent pivot to Mamu, where I don't have a ton of confidence in Eubanks either, but I think that they project pretty similarly, and you're just getting like 2.5 times the ownership going to Mamu. If Watford is out, those minutes for Eubanks become even more secure. Sharp is expensive now, but should play a lot of minutes in a good matchup. Kevin Knox is 5K. Should give you big minutes. The Watford injury news is huge, though, because if he's in, you can expect an 8-man rotation, which is still condensed, but you have more expensive salaries here. Then prices have at least come up a little bit, and you would have another guy in there. If Watford's out, there's a good chance that once again you're just getting a fake Cam Reddish. They did also sign Shaq Harrison to a 10-day, so like maybe they throw him into the rotation.
Can I interest you in any John Butler Jr.?
I mean, he's center only, which sucks. If Watford's out, I would certainly like him more if Watford's out.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, almost 40 minutes from Knox last game. Eubanks minutes that's a weird spot for him. But Thibault played 37, Sharp played 45, Little played 40. He had 10 points in the first half and was blanked. He played like almost the whole second half and was just blank. So team stinks right now, man. They're bad. They're really bad. And some of the prices have come up, but
I forgot to. Oh, God.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I forgot they also have Skylar Mays too. So like they could actually have a couple extra guys in the rotation today.
Would Watford be your favorite play for Portland today if he's active? And
probably, yeah. He has power forward eligibility. I would expect him to play big minutes. He's only 5,900.
Yeah. I think it's him and then probably Knox.
If he's in, yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right. Are we on the last game? Not bad. Told you, man. Not bad. Denver, Phoenix. The Suns, we mentioned it earlier, but big dogs today against the Nuggets, big dogs against the Suns. Jokic was out yesterday, and Malone was like, listen, if there's any doubt, we're not playing him. And now Jamal Murray is questionable for this game, unlikely to play for this game on the second of a back-to-back. What do you make of this spread right now? We have Bruce Brown at 22%. Denver was atrocious yesterday in that loss to the Pels as Ingram just continues to roll. But How do you want to, like right now in the morning, other than saying watch the deeper dive and live before lock, how do you want to approach the Nuggets?
Yeah, I mean, for one, that's the most important part. But
it is. I know.
But
I'm saying right now.
Yeah, I saw somebody in chat say they have a feeling Denver rests everybody. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So we're not expecting Murray to play. That's from Malone. I don't think Jokic plays. I've seen a lot of people like saying, "Oh yeah, I think Jokic comes back today." I don't think he does. Like it sounds like it's an actual injury. It wasn't just them wanting to rest him on a leg of the back-to-back. They said he's been playing through it. And now you're going into Phoenix. You're not playing Jamal Murray. Like with the given or the expected fact that Murray's not going to play, you're going to be big dogs here anyway. Like, why would you play Jokic here? You're either like, if you, for whatever reason, care about winning this game, you're playing Murray on the back-to-back and you're just playing everybody. But like with Murray already not playing, why would you play Jokic here?
I agree. So especially given that, like you said, this didn't just seem like a typical rest day for Nikola.
Right. Like, yeah, they said he's been playing through it. He didn't practice much the day before.
You know what I call it? Karmic justice.
Yeah, this is what you get for not being soft and actually playing, showing up for a matchup with Embiid.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think Jokic plays. We obviously don't think Murray plays. Then it becomes, do Gordon and Porter play, or do they just pull the plug on all of this? In which case you get a dumpster fire of a game from the Nuggets. But if it's really tough to talk about right now. Like if Jokic is in and Murray is out, then it's pretty normal. Like nothing looks great here. Jokic obviously is fine. Gordon, Porter would be better plays on smaller slates, but there's nothing that stands out. But if you get Jokic out, then Gordon and Porter start to look better, at least up until the point that the Suns, run them off the floor and the game gets out of hand. Brown looks better if Jokic is out. So does KCP. But if you rest like everybody, then you're getting a $3,900 Jackson, you're getting a $3,400 Christian Brown, $3,500 Jeff Green. Maybe they go back to $3K Thomas Bryant, who I'm pretty sure burned everybody yesterday. But it's kind of impossible to talk about until we at least get an injury report. Like when we get an injury report, it's probably going to say Jokic questionable. And you're still going to have to play this guessing game with Jokic. But at least on the injury report, what I'm really looking for is, do they list Porter and Gordon as questionable? Because if they don't, at least I think those guys are playing. If they list them as questionable too, it really opens the door for them to just pull everybody.
Right. And if that's the case, yeah, let's hope that this happens before 7 Eastern time. Let me tell you that much. Because
Brandon Katz thinks Embiid is the clear MVP. Does that change your opinion?
Let me see how usage rate. Shit. You just bounced them.
Yeah, I mean it's just free flex.
Let's see. I think it's legitimately neck and neck. Like you just have Jokic as the clear top, but I think it's legitimately neck and neck.
I mean, I don't think Jokic is the clear top. I think Embiid's the clear third.
Yeah. But you're not saying Embiid's a clear bottom, right?
Correct. But if they were into that, Jokic is the top also.
You think?
No, not at all. Actually, I don't know. Dude's so good.
Jokic is no joke, man. Remember all the stuff with the brothers in the stands and everything?
Yeah.
I still will say this though. The best supervillain family member character that's not even a supervillain, but we made him out to be because it just was amazing. Remember
Nurkic's dad? Yeah.
Dude. And there's the story about him. Isn't Nurkic Serbian too?
Nurkic is Bosnian.
Bosnia. Yeah, dude. Just hearing Bosnia. I don't want to fuck with those guys. Yeah. But the story about his dad being a police officer and taking out 8 guys by himself.
Yes, it's insane. That is a massive dude. And yeah, Nurkic is Bosnian. Jokic is
Serbian. Yeah. Did you pull up a picture? Jacob, can you before we close out, pull up a picture and throw Nurkic's dad? They're just an absolute behemoth of a man. And I remember him sitting in the games and just took up 8 seats. But yeah, huge. All right, you ready to wrap this up with the Suns?
Yes.
Let's do it. Well, not really sure how much there is to get to on the Suns today with Kevin. Yeah, there he is. Oh my God. Look at him sitting next to those people. Look at the screen, Adam, if you have it pulled up.
I had to fast forward.
Look at the size of him.
I can't see it.
Go all the way forward.
My YouTube froze.
Oh man.
What the hell? So then it went to like an ad of some dude just like flexing his abs. I was like, I don't think that's Nurkic's.
No,
now I see it.
But look at him compared to the other grown men in the scene. Like Freddie said, 7 foot 400 pounds. That's fucking insane. Huge, dude.
What? I wonder if that person that looks like they're 6 years old who is left is actually like 22.
Yeah, they're a grad student,
right?
God, he's a monster. That's incredible. Anyway, I marvel over the size of this. I'd love to hear the real story, because everything gets blown out of proportion and sensationalized. Like when the cop, he as a cop took on 9 people. Like, what if he really did that? What if he was really just tossing people with? I'm gonna have to look that up.
And I'm assuming they're Bosnian people, so they're probably not small either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. What a monster. All right, to wrap us up with the Suns, I'm going to find this article.
Yeah, so for Phoenix, I don't think there's a ton. Right now we have 8% ownership coming into a $4,400 Josh Okogie, which doesn't seem particularly exciting. $7,200 for Chris Paul, I think is another decent Darius Garland pivot ownership-wise, but Garland certainly projects better. Yeah, there's nothing that really stands out to me.
All right, you ready to close it out with this? Yusuf Nurkic was discovered because of his dad, Haris Nurkic, who is a police officer in Bosnia. That can't be an easy job, huh?
Right.
In Bosnia. Haris is a 7-footer and weighs over 400 pounds. When Yusuf Nurkic was 14 years old, Bosnian sports agent Enes Chavucevic read a story about his father and was intrigued. Yusuf Nurkic's dad is a policeman in Tulsa, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. I don't know. One day, a Bosnian sport was reading where Bosnian policeman Haris Nurkic has beaten 14 people in a fight. That's just incredible.
That has to be like
it can't be real,
fabricated.
It can't be real. A couple of years ago, Yusuf confirmed the general part of this story. We don't know if his father really beat up 14 people at once, but I'd like to believe he did. So would I. Yeah. What's Nurkic's size? Because he's not small either.
Like 7 foot. Wikipedia has him at 7 feet, 290 pounds.
That's still huge. Do you remember? We could close with this, but you'll appreciate this. Do you remember when Nurkic had that brutal, like, compound leg fracture and the ref went to step over him and stepped on his ankle?
I had completely forgotten until right now, but yeah, I remember.
Wow. What a great family. I got to meet these guys. You're telling me you don't think they can knock back some drinks?
I'm very confident they can.
If I had to put an over-under on it, how much, like, let's assume that Haris Nurkic is a drinker. If I had to put a number on it, how many beers, how many light beers do you think he could crush in a night? Like, while still being competent? Like, how many, while still being conscious?
Like a relatively unlimited amount.
At least two cases, right?
Right. Like no if we're talking just like, get to the bar at 9 or whatever and just drink drink Bud Light until 2 or 3. Like, I assume it's just
there might not be enough for him.
Right. Like it's just, I don't know how quickly does he drink, because it's just going to be like no effect for the entire time.
Because there was the documentary of Andre the Giant, that he would drink a case of wine to his head. Like, what? It's crazy. Yeah. I got to find some more stories on Haris Nurkic, but he's kind of a ghost outside of that story. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. It's a marathon, but we got there. Not a big problem. 13 games. Adam and I will be back with you tonight. Live, deeper dive, and then you got Live Before Lock after that. Be sure to stick around for the Odd Shop on the Odd Shopper channel, a great sports betting show right before 4 o'clock, leads into the deeper dive. And if you're not on Chalkboard yet, like I said, come over. Everything's free. Building a great community. We'd love to have you guys. We'll see you back here soon. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS. Me at Lafayette _D, and shout out to Jacob for producing this long one today. Peace.